Dark Futility, Part 2. Chapter 6, The White Wolf's Revelation. Under the sickly light of a blood-red moon, a massive white werewolf stood atop a craggy cliff overlooking Aze's dark cathedral. Known as the Abdominal One for his ghostly pallor and terrifying strength, this Grec was unlike any other. His fur gleamed like freshly fallen snow, a stark contrast to the corrupted landscape around him. The Abdominal One had been summoned by Aze for a private audience. As he padded silently through the cathedral's shadowy halls, his keen senses picked up on the foul energies permeating the air. Something was amiss. Aze's throne room reeked of decay and dark magic. The vampire lord sat upon a seat of twisted bone, his eyes gleaming with malevolent anticipation. "Ah, my prized wolf," Aze purred. "I have a special task for you and your clan." As Aze outlined his plan, the Abdominal One's hackles rose. The vampire spoke of a ritual to permanently blot out the sun, plunging the world into eternal darkness. It would mean the end of all life, including the Grecs. "You promised us power and freedom," the white wolf growled, his voice a low rumble. "But this is extinction." Aze's face contorted with rage. "You dare question me, beast? You are nothing but a tool for my ascension." In that moment, the Abdominal One saw the truth. They had been manipulated, used as pawns in Aze's mad quest for dominion. With a snarl of defiance, he lunged at the vampire lord, massive jaws snapping. Aze vanished in a swirl of shadows, his laughter echoing through the chamber. "Fool! Your rebellion is futile. The darkness comes for all." The Abdominal One fled the cathedral, his mind racing. He knew what he had to do. Racing through the night, he called to his clan, the strongest and most independent-minded of the Grecs. In a moonlit clearing, he shared what he had learned. "Brothers and sisters," he howled, "we have been betrayed. Aze plans to destroy everything, including us. We must fight back." A chorus of howls answered him. The clan was with him. As one, they turned their backs on Aze's dark realm, ready to forge a new path. The Abdominal One knew their road ahead would be treacherous. They would be hunted by both vampire and witch alike. But for the first time in ages, hope flickered in his savage heart. The white wolf raised his muzzle to the sky and let out a mournful, defiant howl. The war for survival had taken an unexpected turn, and the Abdominal One was determined to see his people through it, no matter the cost. Chapter 7. Reclamation. The fortress of Celestial Spire stood as a last bastion of light in a world increasingly consumed by darkness. Within its enchanted walls, a grim task was underway. The witches had managed to capture several of their transformed sisters, Vololok, who had once been proud members of their coven. In a chamber deep beneath the spire, warded by the most powerful protection spells, these captured Vololok were held. Their once graceful forms were now twisted parodies of their former selves, with leathery wings and razor-sharp fangs. Yet in their eyes, a glimmer of their original selves remained, trapped, screaming silently for release. Sybil, her face lined with grief and determination, led the efforts to reclaim these lost sisters. Day after day, she and a team of the most skilled healers and curse-breakers worked tirelessly, attempting every purification ritual and cleansing spell in their vast arcane knowledge. "Please, Mira," Sybil pleaded, with a snarling Vololok who had once been her closest friend. "I know you're still in there. Fight it." But their efforts seemed in vain. The vampire's corruption ran too deep, intertwined with the very essence of their being. Each failed attempt left the witches more disheartened, the weight of their sister's torment bearing down upon them. Jasmine, her eyes red from sleepless nights of research, slammed shut another ancient tome. "It's no use," she said, her voice cracking. "We've tried everything. The transformation, It's irreversible. A heavy silence fell over the chamber, broken only by the occasional hiss or shriek from the imprisoned Vololok. The witches exchanged looks of despair, the horrible realization settling in that they might have to end their sister's suffering permanently. Just then, the chamber door burst open. Dia strode in, her eyes blazing with a fierce determination that none had seen since the war began. In her hands, she clutched a crystalline vial filled with a swirling, opalescent liquid. "Not everything," Dia declared, her voice ringing with authority. "I have delved into magics older than time itself, bargained with entities beyond mortal comprehension. This is our last hope." The witches gathered around as Dia explained. The potion was a distillation of pure life essence infused with the primordial energies of creation itself. It would not be without risk. The shock of transformation could very well destroy their sisters entirely. "But it's a chance," Dia finished, her gaze sweeping over the captive Vololok. "A chance to reclaim what was stolen from them." With trembling hands, Sybil took the vial. They would try it on Mira first. As the shimmering liquid passed her fanged lips, a blinding light erupted from within her. The chamber filled with an otherworldly keening as vampire and witch essence warred for dominance. When the light faded, Mira lay still. For a heart-stopping moment, nothing happened. Then her eyes fluttered open, clear and human once more. "Sybil," she whispered, her voice hoarse but blessedly her own. What happened?" Tears of joy and relief flowed freely as the witches embraced their reclaimed sister. There was hope, after all. It would be a long, arduous process to cure all the captured Vololok, and longer still to hunt down those still in Ozzy's thrall. But for the first time in what felt like an eternity, the tide had turned. Dia watched the celebration with a guarded smile. She alone knew the true cost of this miracle cure. But as she looked at Mira, alive and herself once more, she knew it had been worth it. The war was far from over, but a crucial battle had been won. Scene 8. The White Alliance. Under the cover of a moonless night, the Abdominal One slipped through the shadows of the werewolf encampments. His white fur, typically a beacon in the darkness, was smeared with mud and ash for stealth. One by one, he approached the alpha wolves of various Grec clans, sharing the truth of Aze's betrayal and his vision for a different future. "Brothers and sisters of the moon," he growled in hushed tones. "Aze plans to extinguish all life, including our own. We must stand against this madness." Many were skeptical at first, their loyalty to Aze ingrained through fear and dark magic. But the Abdominal One's words carried the weight of truth, and his reputation as a fearsome warrior lent credence to his cause. Slowly, a coalition began to form, the White Alliance. With a growing force at his back, the Abdominal One knew their next move would be the most dangerous yet. They needed powerful allies, and there was only one group with the magical might to stand against Aze, the witches. Under a flag of truce, the white werewolf and a small contingent of his most trusted Grecs approached the fortress of Celestial Spire. The witches' defenses bristled at their approach, but the Abdominal One stood his ground, paws raised in a gesture of peace. "We seek audience with Dia," he called out. "We bring vital information and an offer of alliance." After tense negotiations and multiple layers of magical vetting to ensure this wasn't a trap, the Abdominal One was finally brought before Dia and her council. The chamber crackled with barely restrained hostile energy as werewolf and witch faced each other. "Speak quickly, beast," Dia commanded, her staff pointed threateningly at the Abdominal One's heart. "Why should we not strike you down where you stand?" The white werewolf bowed his head respectfully. "Because we share a common enemy, and I bring the key to his downfall." Over the next hour, he laid out everything he knew of Aze's plans, the growing discontent among the Grecs, and his proposal for an alliance. The witches listened with growing interest, their initial hostility giving way to cautious consideration. "Azi's power comes from the Vololok," the Abdominal One explained. "But we Grecs know his sanctum, his routines. With our strength and your magic combined, we can strike at the heart of his power." Daya's eyes narrowed, her brilliant mind already formulating strategies. "And what do you ask in return?" "A place in the world to come," the white werewolf replied. "No more persecution, no more being used as pawns. We want to live in peace, under the light of the moon as nature intended." A heavy silence fell over the chamber as Dia considered the proposal. Finally, she nodded. "We have a common cause. Let us plan Aza's downfall together." As witch and werewolf bent over maps and magical artifacts, plotting their daring assault, a spark of hope flickered in the darkness. The unlikely alliance of the White Alliance and the Witches of Celestial Spire might just be the key to ending Aza's reign of terror and restoring balance to their world. The Abdominal One's eyes gleamed with determination. The true war was about to begin, and this time they would fight for a future worth living in. Final chapter. The Phantom Tide. In the darkest hour before dawn, Dia stood atop Celestial Spire, her eyes closed in deep concentration. Around her, a circle of white-robed witches chanted in an ancient, forgotten tongue. The air crackled with raw magical energy as they tapped into the most forbidden of arts, necromancy. "Arise, fallen warriors!" Dia intoned, her voice echoing across realities. "Your fight is not yet done!" The ground trembled as spectral forms began to rise from the earth, the ghosts of countless witches, humans, and even reformed Grecs who had fallen in the long war against Az. These were no mindless undead, but phantasms imbued with purpose and righteous fury. The Abdominal One watched in awe as the phantom army took shape. "By the moon," he whispered, "this might actually work." As one, the combined forces of witch, werewolf, and phantom marched on Az's dark citadel. The vampire lord's defenses crumbled before the onslaught of this unprecedented alliance. Vololok shrieked in terror as the phantasms passed through their physical forms, their touch corrupting and unraveling the very essence that held the vampire hybrids together. In the heart of his sanctum, Az faced the unlikely coalition of Dia, the Abdominal One, and a host of vengeful spirits. The vampire lord's face contorted with rage and disbelief. "Impossible!" he snarled, dark energy crackling around him. "I am eternal! I am the night itself!" But for all his power, Az could not stand against the combined might arrayed against him. The Abdominal One's claws tore through his physical form, while Daya's spells shredded his magical defenses. And the phantoms. Their touch reached into the very core of his being, unmaking the ancient magics that had sustained him for millennia. With a final defiant scream, Az disintegrated into ash, his essence scattered to the winds. As their master fell, the remaining vampire forces crumbled, fleeing into the shadows or begging for mercy. In the aftermath of the battle, an eerie calm settled over the world. The perpetual night that had shrouded the land began to lift, revealing a scarred and changed landscape. Humanity, once the dominant species, had been reduced to small, scattered enclaves. Yet there was hope. Under the guidance of Dia and the Abdominal One, a new council was formed, witches, reformed Grecs, and human survivors working together to rebuild. The phantoms, their purpose fulfilled, faded peacefully into the afterlife, their sacrifices honored and remembered. As the first true sunrise in years broke over the horizon, Dia and the Abdominal One stood side by side, watching the golden light spread across the land. "It's not the world we knew," Dia said softly, "but it's a world worth fighting for." The white werewolf nodded, his eyes reflecting the dawn. "A new beginning," he agreed, "for all of us." Though the path ahead would be long and challenging, a fragile peace had been won. In this new world born from the ashes of near-extinction, there was a chance for all beings, human, witch, and Grec alike, to forge a better, more harmonious future together.